I'm not going to be the same person afterwards. So I guess that freaks me out.
Yeah, but you could be a better person.
Exactly.
It won't consume you. I mean, well, maybe that's not accurate because love does consume us, but it does so in such a beautiful way. Who would not want to be consumed by that?
Right, right. Like the artist tonight, right? Are you in love enough to allow yourself to dissolve who you are right now to become what you could be?
Bingo.
God, all right, I can't keep you up any longer than that.
I'm wide awake now.
You're like, it's too late. Oh, good Lord.
I'm sitting out looking at the stars, and all is well in the universe.
Man, I wish I was in Sedona. It's funny. She told me that she'd been there one of her voyages. Sounds like a pretty amazing place.
Well, I think you would love Sedona. It definitely is an amazing place.
It's crazy how much contact you guys get there. Somebody last night was talking about it. It's just like mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. Well, this is like a galactic portal for the ETs, and the whole vibe here, the majority of the population here is very open and receptive. And that makes a difference. People aren't, they're not afraid here of galactic contact. In fact, they really encourage it. And the conversations that you hear here, you probably wouldn't hear anywhere else. You know, there was a book that this guy wrote that was in jest, but it really does encompass Sedona about the different conversations that you will hear just in passing, you know, like at Whole Foods, people talking about, you know, all the woo-woo stuff, but it's common conversation here.
That's awesome.
Which is one of the reasons that I was drawn here, because it really felt like home. Because, you know, I've always felt like an outsider my entire life because of my outlook and my viewpoint and my belief system. And so to come into a community where that's the norm was very special.
Yeah, it's sort of like this group in some senses, but that's where you live.
Exactly. It's exactly like the room.
Dude, I found the room and I choked up. I was like, I'm home. This is amazing. That's cool.
It is. It's amazing.
So you guys are all like, people make fun of the left coast. It's such a joke because it's funny how stuff that they now prize as cultural institutions originally came from like Berkeley, and you know it was made fun of. It's like we want to be progressive, but only up until this point, and everything after that is fruits and nuts. And it's like,
Right,
yeah, but that's what you
right.
guys said 10 years ago about this, and now that's cool. Like, why don't you? Why do you think you're right? These guys must be right. Oh, that's great. What's the mountain that's near you guys? The
Thunder Mountain.
Thunder Mountain.
Yep. Actually, Walt Disney used to live here, and Thunder Mountain was his inspiration to whatever that ride is at Disney World, or I mean Disneyland. Um,
Yes, I know what you're talking about. See, I think it's called Thunder Mountain. The one that's It's mining carts that you're riding in.
I think so. It's one of the main attractions at Disneyland, but Thunder Mountain in Sedona was the inspiration for that ride.
It's funny because I saw the picture of it the other night.
Yeah, I'll get a better view and put that. I have a friend that lives closer to Thunder Mountain that has a better panoramic view, so I'll go over to Christy's house and turn on the zoom camera so people can see it.
It's it's pretty light. It's like pretty beautiful out here. I'm never awake at this time. Like it's early dawn. I got a pear tree that's totally loaded with pears out here.
Cool.
I wonder if I can send you a picture. Kind of like you, I've gotten my second wind.
Yeah. Well, we're still the only ones in the room. I forgot to check, but just you and me and Jamin's avatar.
Thanks again, Linda, so much for your subtle energy wisdom about what's going on with my situation here. I really appreciate that. It's
Well, I
huge.
appreciate you. I'm just listening. You know, you have all the answers already, so that's all there is to that.
It's really healing to hear. Some of the stuff that you mentioned though today was like, I mean, yeah, it's stuff that I've been aware of, but it's not. It's like, oh yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense. Like the women's heart thing, that's definitely highlight that. Put a few circles around it. You know? I did know that. I guess again, it keeps coming back to me. It's like, yeah, like I'm a huge lover. Like I love people. I love her. Like the reason why I'm attracted to any of this isn't because I think ETs are cool or interesting. Yeah, the reason I'm attracted to it is because of love. You know, and so it's weird for me to be dropping the ball on this. You know, it's like, okay, I always imagined, you know, that I would die on the hill for those that I love. You know, that I would do everything. I wanted to be a priest because I thought I offer my life as a sacrifice to God. I took pre-med first year because I thought I was going to go into the medical system here in Canada and offer my career service to, you know, medical. And then I went into environmentalism and try to solve problems. You know, I'm all about that. And so, how is it that this person who is like the ultimate sacred culmination of this is manifested in my life? And suddenly I'm like,
Scared to
I
death.
feel like I'm not prepared.
You
What the
are.
hell?
You've been preparing for this your entire life. You are. You're ready.
Yeah, you know, I think you're right. I don't know what the stoppers are, is where it is. It's like they're stoppers. Where are they? Let me get them out of the way.
And sometimes you can just take a leap of faith and know that the angels will catch you if you happen to not unfurl your wings all the way.
I like that. I need to do that more often because clearly there's a lot going on out there. I started thinking to myself, I'm like, why us? Like, what do we do to, you know, be special or something, you know? But then it feels like a waste of time to be questioning stuff like that. because
I
I
would agree.
never really. I used to roll my eyes about stuff like like twin flame or whatnot. Like I was just like, oh, like people need to not get wrapped up in that, making up stories about themselves and stuff. But then
And
I realized,
and here
or at
you
least,
are. And here you are.
yeah, yeah.
And now you
What's
understand.
weird is, yeah, that's true. I don't think those people are making up stories about themselves is what's going on now. I thought that that's what was going on, and now I'm realizing that, at least for a good chunk of them, they're getting their butt handed to them by the universe with all this crazy stuff. Anyway, I've got to actually go inside here, but I would like if you're still up. I can't talk. I can only type. But if
Oh, okay, I'll meander back inside, and getting a little chilly out here actually. So yep, I can text you back and forth.
well, you can talk to me, but I can't talk because the people are
Oh,
sleeping
okay.
inside here.
Yeah, well, they're sleeping here too.
All right, I gotta be quiet here. I gotta set the alarm and everything.
Okay.
I'm
And
living with people.
I never know how loud my voice is when I'm talking, even if I'm trying not to talk loud. So we'll just play it by ear.
Okay, sounds good. I'm reluctant to leave the sun coming up here. It's crazy because online today they've got an online version of this festival I was telling you about. They put it online because of COVID, so you can still check it out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, today's the last day of it, but normally it ends the week before. As I was saying, it aligned with the end of the harmonic convergence. Last year's ending was exactly 1 year to the day of the end of the harmonic convergence. And I always feel this like really strong sense of like, oh man, like the sorrow of having to go back to the world of squares. And I
Yep.
got that at the end of the convergence. It was like, oh man, the convergence after 10 days of that, I only got the 2 last days, but I was already mourning the loss of that. And then Peter came on and was like, nope, it's not over.
It's only just beginning.
The conversation's on every day. I've been here nonstop every day because I feel like this is what I've been sorrowful about missing after Hillside every year after the festival. It's anyway. Well, I'm gonna go inside here and I'll keep typing you. But
Okay.
again, I thank you so much for your help today, Linda.
There are no thanks needed.
Much love to you.
Oh, back at ya. It's what it's all about.
Is there anything I can pray for you?
Yes, you could pray that my knee would straighten itself out.
Okay, I'll do that. Is it you're just experiencing some pain there? Or?
Well, I took a flight. Did you not hear my story about thinking I could fly?
No, I
I
didn't.
forgot. I was at a friend's house. And we had been swimming and having fun, and then she brought out her celestial crystals, huge ones that I had in my lap. And I got up to go to the restroom, and my head was in another dimension. And as I came out of her bathroom, I took a step and went into midair. I missed 2 steps and came down on with my entire weight on my left knee. So it's been letting me know to come back to Earth since that happened.
Wow.
So I have an appointment with the chiropractor on Monday, but it hit right below the kneecap, so I've got some nerve impingement going on there, and it's swollen because I don't stay off of it like I should, and so yeah.
All right. Well, I'll definitely put in a word upstairs for you.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to say a quick farewell to the morning with you here.
All right.
Just thankful to the Creator that we're both here together right now and that we're actually able to be aware of how amazing that is. Even though I didn't see any ETs with you, I could feel that we were part of something. I think I might have seen a couple of blips there. Definitely saw some blips.
I know you did.
Okay. Well, I trust in your confidence. So, all right. Well, that's my thanks to God there in front of you. I think I can go inside now. I think the morning has been appreciated.
All right. Well, I will look for your text.
Okay, I gotta set the alarm, which is, you can feel free to keep talking. I'm gonna be listening to you the whole way, but.
Alrighty.
Okay.
We'll see what other numbers decide to randomly pop up. Yeah, I always check out the messages when I look at the clock, and they're always appropriate. That's why I was so chuckling at your 555 number. Thought that was quite appropriate. I don't know what my Okay, well, I was muted. Okay, my screen is bouncing up and down for some reason. There we go. That little lady from Belgium was so adorable.
Yeah, she definitely was. Hopefully that didn't wake everybody up.
I don't know how I keep muting myself, or if it's might be muting me automatically. Weird things happening. Okay, I'm gonna unplug from the charger. Maybe that's. Oh, come on here. Okay, I'm at the chat spot, so I really enjoyed talking with Diana. She's such a little angel. But I do think we had one brain tonight.
Yeah, you guys kept saying the same thing. It was crazy.
I know.
Can you actually hear me if I talk like this?
Yeah, I can.
I'm wondering if it's better if I type you.
Either way, I can hear you. Whatever works.
Her ayahuasca was crazy. I've never heard that experience before.
Oops. Hang on a sec. Just lost my ear. Okay, say that again.
Saying, like, I've never heard of anybody having an ayahuasca experience before, so that was crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of ayahuasca journeys. I don't think you can take shortcuts to spirituality.
Interesting.
And it really concerns me that there are so many people out there who don't respect the journey and what it's all about and how it's handled. And it can be very dangerous. You know, I worked with a shaman for 8 years, and I would not have done an ayahuasca journey anyway, but that wasn't his thing. But he taught me a lot of valuable lessons, as far as the spiritual journey is concerned. And he was the only person um, that I trusted enough to do a past life regression. And even so, when that happened, um, my heart literally stopped beating on that journey. And he was very concerned in trying to retrieve me from the other side.
Wow, that's intense.
It was very intense.
And that's like an understatement.
Well, when you do a past life regression, actually they can take you to the moment of death, and if they don't get you, you know, at that precise moment, you actually can die again. But it was, I feel that way about ayahuasca, that you have to literally entrust your life to that person. So you better trust them completely and totally before you take that journey. It's not recreational, you know, hallucinogenics. It's something way, way deeper.
Do you feel like with the indigenous ceremonies that they've got that sort of got a little bit more like that's got more respect for the spiritual process? It's not really considered like a shortcut, or do you think that they're both sort of like a way of shortcutting the process?
I think a lot of people do ayahuasca journeys to fast track the spiritual process. The
Right.
indigenous people do not view it that way at all, but it's not a, it's not a ceremony that you do. You go for a weekend and have some good drugs. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared, and um, it's something that is their most sacred. And I don't think that people who are doing that right now are respecting the journey. I think they're looking for some, immediate spiritual awakening as opposed to doing the inner work required to get to that point.
Nice. Yeah. It's like I like the way you put it as a shortcut. Like everything in the West is always about like all of our products and all of our everything's about like what's the quickest way to get to the target.
Exactly.
Spirituality in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So you did a past life regression. That's intense, man.
Yeah, it was. It was very intense.
Can I ask what inspired you to like what started that process?
Well, I think because I had been told my whole life that I was a very old soul, and I had glimpses of lifetimes that I wanted to understand further. I knew that there were many, many instances of extreme trauma, and I wanted to understand where that came from. So that was my motivation in wanting to go back and see. And some were, they were pretty pretty significant one in particular that I didn't understand my intense fear of snakes.
Oh, wow.
And then through the regression, I had been like a member of Cleopatra's court, and I was thrown into a pit of vipers. That's how I died.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
So it then made sense to me why that was. And just many, 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 many lifetimes. And I remember specifically saying, this is my last trip. If I don't get it right this time, guys, I'm not coming back again. So throw at me whatever you want me to learn, because this is it. Last time.
Oh, this time around, you mean?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yes, indeed.
So do you remember why you said that?
Well, I think that when you have been here, I know what it's like on the other side. I've been there 3 times and don't understand why I volunteered again. Well, I guess I do, but um, this earth plane is the most difficult to navigate. What lies on the other side is easy, but then you also give up the physical aspect. So, it's kind of a give and take situation. Being in the etheric is phenomenal, but then you don't you don't get to eat chocolate, things like that.
I hear ya. Yeah, this is pretty nuts being here, right? With all the relativity, like the opportunity, the chance to be cold, but also to be hot, to be sad, but to be happy. Yeah, like we can actually win here. There's parameters, but that makes it a big challenge.
It does.
So you're basically saying, hey, you're basically saying I've done this enough.
Yeah. You could in human form, there's a weariness that sets in after a while. That you just go, okay, if I can't make enough of a difference for humanity to make a change, then I'm just going to have to leave it be and not be a part of that.
Well, I guess you got here at the right time.
Oh, yeah, we all did.
Yeah, like this is crazy.
I didn't ever think that I would see this, happen. And it's going to get crazy and it's going to get really wild. But then, when you know what lies on the other side of this journey, it's like, okay, let's celebrate. Woo. I didn't want to miss the party because it's been a long time coming.
You know,
whispers of like what's happening or what's gonna happen, but I'm not as clear as some other people. Like a lot of folks are talking about like the next like steps here, and yeah, I'm not sure what it looks like. I know we're in a state of increasing upheaval right now, and, but I'm like some people offer a vision of that we'll have spontaneous massive awakenings, or that the ETs will finally disclosure will happen. It's a lot more
Absolutely.
positive. And these images are more lighter and more positive. And then there's folks saying like more apocalyptic visions. I mean, everybody says things are going to be changing huge. So for me, I can't ascertain whether the next steps are going to be, whether we'll sidestep the really bad stuff or whether things are going to be like, apocalyptic or something. I tend
and if it is apocalyptic, we'll still get through.
Yeah.
It's just
either way.
You operate in fear or love. Those are the only two options available.
Yeah.
And I choose love. Plain and simple.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. This is actually like it's exciting that
it is.
Look at all these things that we get to. I mean, it's at every level too. Like people are talking about with the virus, the fossil fuel industries have been hit so hard that there's a window now, an opportunity to talk about green energy that wasn't there before. And everybody who's saying, "Oh, this is terrible," like, when are we going to get back to normal? It's like, well, actually, this is a huge chance for. You already know all this stuff, but like, it's just crazy how it's at every level. Like, all the way up to what you're talking about, where it's like spiritual shifting. People.
My grandmother told me when I was a little girl, because I was confused with a lot of things, but I knew that my grandmother would never lie to me. And I asked her at one point, I said, "Granny, do you believe in heaven and hell?" And she said, "Well, yes and no." And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And she said, "Well, I believe that hell is what we have here on this earth. And that if people really understood what was on the other side, there would be mass murder and suicide for people wanting to get there to experience that." And I think that's true. I'm not afraid of death. I know what lies beyond, and it's beautiful. I prefer not to experience pain if that's okay, but death is a beautiful thing. And I have watched, many people. I didn't realize that I would be escorting them through their transition, but to see the change on their face when that transition occurs is just unbelievable.
That's what I've heard. I haven't seen too many people transition myself.
Well, I was just recently in Texas, my daughter called me to assist a little lady that all she wanted was to die at home with her dogs. And it was getting to a critical point where they were threatening to forcibly remove her from her home. And so I told my daughter, well, honey, if I was there, I would step in and help you out. And she's like, how fast can you be on the next plane? What's the first plane you can be on? And so I said, well, how about tomorrow? And this little lady was absolutely adorable, feisty as all hell, and no bones about telling the people. I mean, I'll have to tell you those stories another day when I can actually talk. But the night that I knew that things were getting pretty close, having experienced that with a few other people, and so it was. I think it was about 12:30, and I knew we were on the final go round, and she got a little panic look in her eye, and so I just sat down beside her bed and held her hand and said, I'm right here, honey, and I'm not going anywhere." And I sang to her, and she wasn't at that point able to really communicate. So I knew that she was probably in a good deal of pain. And so I said, well, now I have this pill here, and if you do not want it, just push it out with your tongue. And if you don't do that, then I'm going to assume that you do want something to alleviate the pain. So she didn't push it away. So I gave her medication and sat there and held her hand and sang to her. And about 3:30, her little dog crawled up onto her chest. And when I tried to move him away so he wouldn't hurt her because she was really frail, he snapped at me. And I went, well, okay, little man, I guess it's your turn now. And he would not move. And so that was 3:30. I went to lay down and got up at 6, and he was still laid across her chest. And I went to touch her, and I said, "Oh, Princess Sassy Pants, you're a little bit chilly here, and let me get the blanket." And then I realized that Tuffy had helped his mama cross the Rainbow Bridge, and he was ready for me to move aside so he could do that just the way she wanted. And it was a beautiful thing. And when I took a picture, there was the brightest glow surrounding her. And when I showed it to my daughter, she went, "She made it." So that's just one of the stories.
Did you take the picture? When did you take the picture?
At 6 that morning.
Okay. And so there was you could see in the picture like a glow around her.
You could see, yes, absolutely.
Wow. I've not heard of that happening before.
I can probably You'll have to send me your phone number and I'll text you the picture. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Actually, I did no. I back up. I will back that up. I took the picture of her. That's what it was. Okay. I took the picture of her little dog laying across her chest. I took that picture before I went to bed at 3:30. Then when I got up and knew that she had passed, I took another picture. And in between those two pictures was a picture on the camera that I did not take that showed this light surrounding her body.
Wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, I did not take that one, and that's why when I showed my daughter, I went, okay, this is the picture I took. This is the picture I took. This picture I did not take. But it was just the communication letting me know.
That is so cool. What were you like? What were you trying to do by taking pictures originally? Were you just like, did you anticipate that you would find something? Or
No. I was just taking the pictures too, because of her dog climbing up onto her chest, and knowing that we were close. My daughter was like 35 miles away, and so she had been transferred into the hospital bed by the fire department, and I don't know why exactly, just felt the need to take the pictures.
oh, so that would have been a shock to see the light afterwards.
Nope, not to me.
All right, yeah, this stuff. You've got experience with this stuff.
Yep, I just um, it's a very comforting feeling because you know where they're at, and it's pretty spectacular.
And you had mentioned before that you've had 3 experiences yourself of like crossing over. Do you mean like did you have a near-death experience yourself?
Yeah, 3.
Wow, I had to actually I had to study those. Well, I've been studying them my whole life. I was interested, but I was glad that my first year of pre-med, they made us study. I think it was like chapter 4 we were tested on in their textbooks on near-death experiences because so many people had them. And as a medical professional, they needed to make sure that you were, when somebody woke up and said, these are the things I saw, that you didn't like make fun of them or react to them poorly because that could affect their psychology negatively. So that's when I knew that people were taking it seriously when you're actually getting tested in school on this stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, the first time I was 4, and I actually went and sat in Jesus's lap.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, it was very cool.
And so you were 4 years old. What preempted this? Like, did you have an outer body experience or?
Well, I had a tonsillectomy,
Okay.
and ended up they lost me on the table because my adenoids were so infected. And I remember going into that cold, like a freight elevator on the way to surgery, and that I actually wasn't like a gradual light at the end of the tunnel sort of thing. It was like an explosion of light, and there I was. And I knew immediately that I was in heaven, or whatever a 4-year-old's conception of what heaven is anyway. But I remember seeing people who had passed over. I remember, my mother was really freaked out when I came back and asked her about what happened to the baby. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, there was a baby that was my sister." And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Yes, there was. And her name was Cheryl." And my mother went completely white because she had had a miscarriage.
Oh, wow.
And my middle name is Cheryl. So just stuff like that. But it was very, peaceful and the most vibrant of colors, and just knowing.
Yeah, my fascination with near-death experiences is stemmed from, I think, some sort of knowing about. I remember reading about heaven in the New Testament on my own at one point when I was like 8. I used to read the Bible on my own when I was really little. It's kind of weird, but and I was just like crying because of how beautiful it was. And so now I think, it must be some sort of some knowledge or something. But what's interesting is that the near-death experiences that I've heard of with kids is that there's colors sometimes in the experience when kids have them. You just mentioned that like you had really vivid colors.
Oh, unlike anything you've ever seen. It's almost like the colors were alive, is the best way that I can describe that. I guess maybe a close proximity would be like in the movie Avatar.
Oh, okay.
It's different than that, but similar as far as the intensity and I don't even know how to describe it, but that's about the closest I could come.
And you had 2 more after that. That's crazy. Most people don't have any, or if they do, it's just 1.
Yeah. Well, then I got bitten by a rattlesnake when I was 11.
Well, that's not good with the past life regression thing.
No.
Kind of triggering.
So that was number 2. And then number 3, I was actually 19 and attempted suicide. Long story short, I had been raped at gunpoint by 4 black guys. And that was my initial experience with sex. And as a result, I ended up becoming pregnant, flew to California, had an abortion. Somehow in my brain, I was convinced that it didn't work. And when I went back home, I decided that there was no way that I could love a child conceived in that situation. And so I opted to take myself out with a large number of pills and a huge quantity of alcohol. And I had several roommates that I lived with at the time, and they realized that something was wrong and called the ambulance. So, and that was the point that I said, please don't make me go back. And they said, it's not your time. You have more work left to do. And I'm like, oh man. And so, yeah.
So sorry you had to go through that. That's crazy.
You know, I'm not, because you gain an understanding of the depths of despair, so that when you encounter someone going through that, there's a realization of where they're at, and you can understand in a much different way. So I don't regret anything. If I had any regrets, it would be that I caused a lot of pain for my family in making that decision, but I don't regret any of the experience. And that's not something I usually share, but you've shared a lot with me that I'm sure you don't usually share either. So it's all relative.
Just got blown away. I mean, I I keep, I question the source. Isn't there an easier way? Isn't there an easier way to get to these states of enlightenment? But I wonder that there isn't. It's like you were saying, without going through certain things, it's like you wouldn't understand.
Exactly.
There's certain gurus, even the, you've got the Lord's Prayer says, don't bring us to hard testing. Like I always sort of interpret that as Jesus sort of being like, okay, like you could learn the hard way, but there's also you can still learn things. But you don't have to go through as much suffering. I think like as we evolve, that we'll be able to understand even without like I didn't have to blow my life up the way hopefully would be in a better spot right now, or in a happier spot right now. And maybe I could have learned the same things. Maybe not. I don't know. I think we're still at this level where it's like it's unclear whether humans need to have stuff demonstrated through like the tougher approach, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I surely don't have all the answers there, but I think pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Right. I
You know,
guess that's where I was just gonna say. I guess that's where that's the easier pathway is like if you bypass the suffering part. Sorry, you were gonna say.
I was just going to say pain is a necessary part of the growth process. You know, when you have growing pains as a kid, that's because it hurts because you're growing. Same thing emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah. Like this, I guess dissolving yourself fundamentally is not necessarily going to be comfortable to become the next version of yourself.
Yep.
But if you love, like in that man's song from tonight, if you love enough, then yeah, it's not necessarily going to be comfortable, but you're going to be excited enough that you'll bypass the suffering, arguably.
Well, I think you do it if you look back at, let's just look at Jesus's example. He loved so deeply that he was willing to give it all out of love.
Right.
Now, if that's not an example for us to follow, I don't know what is.
No, I think that's right. They're always talking about suffering, but I feel like I actually I can't really say that, but the Catholics have this tradition where like on Calvary he was actually not really they call it the Passion to be like suffering, like oh this is bad, this is happening. He took it upon himself. So it's not normal suffering. It's like a tenderness.
I'm not sure I heard all of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just going on a bit here. I think that there's some suffering that they talk about that Jesus went through that wasn't really suffering. It was sort of bypassed in a sense. Like if you love enough, you're not like, oh, you're in pain, but you're not suffering. I guess I'm just sort of playing with the idea that you were saying earlier that like pain is not an option, but suffering is.
Right.
So like he must have been the best example of that, you know. But they always talk about his suffering.
I see that as more as an act of love, of
Yeah.
love beyond anything that we as humans can comprehend.
Yeah, I think that's right. Especially at that point in time in like the evolution of human consciousness, like people just were like, what the heck is this? This doesn't make sense. I've been really interested. You got Turin Shroud. Are you familiar with that?
I am. Yeah.
What do you mind if I ask you your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that how do I put this? I think it was an illusion created to I'm not sure how to really even put it. I think it's part real and part not real. I think that people need something that is symbolic of their belief systems in order to justify continuing that belief system.
Interesting. Sort of like like the Dumbo feather. Dumbo needs his feather to fly.
Say that again.
Sort of like Dumbo the elephant in the Disney cartoon needs a feather to fly, but he doesn't
Exactly.
really need the feather.
Exactly. That's just my opinion.
But I think that's really interesting because a lot of I've got a bunch of religious friends that really don't, they're not interested in the shroud at all because they're like, okay, like it doesn't matter. Like, what if it's not real, in some senses, that proves what you're saying. It's not about the shroud, it's about, this man and what he did.
Yeah, what it represents.
Exactly. Like the whole image, how it was formed by like an intense burst of radiation really captivated my attention when I was studying this when I was younger. I was like, wow, that's crazy. They've got scientific instrumentation that says, okay, we've got this cloth with this image of this crucified man that was exactly, the way Jesus was crucified. And, there's dirt in the heels from around Jerusalem, and there's pollens from the Middle East in that at the time of the year Jesus was crucified. All this like scientific data, forensic data, but the image itself is like, the best guess is that it's like a flash of an intense burst of radiation. And that's kind of spooky. It's like, okay, if that's what happened, like what caused that? Anyway, that's getting out in the weeds. Anyway, I'm down with talking, but I don't want to keep you awake any longer than you want to be, Linda. So you got.
Well, it is now 3:40 here, so I probably should try and get a few Z's before the sun comes up. But I would love to.
That's probably the hell of a joke.
I'd love to talk, but my eyes are getting a little bleary. Excuse me.
Well, I've definitely, I've got the people that say that your voice is, it needs to be used for one of these online hotlines. I've monopolized Linda's voice tonight. They're all going to be jealous.
That's right. Well, I look forward to talking again in a few hours.
Sounds good.
I think 12 is when they're opening up the room, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah, that's what Jamin said.
well, you have sweet lucid dreams if you're planning to get any sleep.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to crash here for a few hours.
All right, my dear. Well, know that all is well. You've got this. You already have the answers. You know that you do. Now you just have to act on them.
And figure out how to put it in an email. Don't trigger this woman.
Don't think about it. Just feel it.
Right.
And what comes from your heart will come across on the page.
I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Linda.
No worries, my dear. Well, I love you bunches, and I will talk with you in a few hours.
Love you too, Linda. You have a great sleep.
You too. Bye-bye.
Talk to you, bye. Oh, I'm going to stay here and be the host, I guess.
Are you going to stay plugged into the room?
Or we should end this, I guess, right? Yeah, it's just you and me.
I think with Jamin still being there, it should be okay.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
make a post and then people can come on.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sign out of the room.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Sweetie, see you in a few.
See you later, bye.
Bye-bye.